everybody. It is John the Comic Guy, and today I want to talk about records. However, this is in a way related to comic books because I think if anybody have watched my channel for a while, you know, when I was a kid, I first quit collecting comic books because of records, because of music. So today I'm going to talk about not my most valuable records, not the rarest records. I'm simply going to talk about the records that I think were so impactful to me in my childhood. They, one, got me to quit collecting comic books, and two, started me off on my record collecting craze. Before I actually get into those records, I do want to share some things because if you're a comic collector, stick around. There are some parallels. I find fascinating similarities between record collecting and comic collecting. If you're a record person, stick around because you're going to see some of the records that just mean the most to me. Again, they're not the most valuable or the rarest, but they're the ones as a kid that impacted me the most. Before I get into that, I just wanted to share kind of a concept with the comic book people. If you're a record person, you're nodding your head. You totally get it. But a lot of information is shared on a record. So if you're wondering about pressing, right, in a comic book, you could very easily see what printing it is because you just look in the book and on the very bottom it tells you the issue number, the volume number, the date it was published, and if it was a first, second, printing it on. There's a lot of interesting information on the record. So this is a record, and in this area, so if you're not familiar with records, you see those little darker lines. Those are the grooves in between songs. So you could pick up your needle and you could put it down into one of those, and you're going to catch it in between songs. However, there's a lot of information. This area here, after the last song on the side ends, if you have an automatic turntable, it's going to lift off, and it's going to lift off in this dead wax. That's what they refer to this as, dead wax. This dead wax, however, has some cool information. So this dead wax area here, and you really can't see it here, but you can. So that little area there, here, that it looks like a scratch, it's actually etching. So that information often tells you who the master engineer was. It tells you where this was actually pressed. So a lot of information is in a dead wax. In addition to that information, sometimes either the master engineer, the artist, they cut into there little messages. Maybe one day I'm going to talk about that. So there was a viewer who said, hey, John, it would be great if you could kind of go into the pressing of the record for us vinyl people. And I may start doing that. It's just a matter of I would have to look at that dead wax area, find what was etched in there, and then ultimately that would tell me all the information I need. It will tell me who the master engineer was. It will tell me where it was pressed. And I think there was like a Def Leppard record. A lot of records have little messages that the master engineer or the band want to make fun, and they write it in that dead wax area. So again, if you are a record guy, you already know that. If you're a comic guy, is that not fascinating? And again, you can identify the pressing, you could identify the age, the engineer, all from that dead wax area. Now, when I was collecting comics, again, it started with Spider-Man number 155, Amazing Spider-Man number 155, and I collected a couple of years, I think until 1978, 1979. But then I'm in grammar school, right? I'm in 8th grade, maybe even 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade, and I discovered these records. Some of the fellow students who were obviously into music at that point, they introduced me to these records. I was blown away. And the song on this record, Kiss Destroyer, Kiss Destroyer was Detroit Rock City. Has a lot of great songs in here. Shout It Out Loud, Beth. But Detroit Rock City was the song that when I heard that for the first time, it blew me away. It's like, whoa. My dad was driving in his car listening to AM radio, and they did not have music that sounded like that. I literally got goosebumps. So I loved it. Then one of my other buddies, Pete, he introduced me to Yes. So obviously, if you guys know Yes, they're a great prog rock band. And I think for me, I always lean towards more popish and commercially accessible music. And Roundabout was the song on this that pulled me in. So really, it was kind of opposites, right? You have a prog rock band in Yes with Yes Fragile, and then you had a hard rock band in Kiss with Detroit Rock City. Then I would have to say some other records that really, for a while, music was coexisting with comics, right? It wasn't until '79 that I finally quit collecting comics for my first time. So there were a couple of years that music and records or music and comic books were coexisting. After I ended up quitting entirely comic books and focusing all on music, these are the records that blew me away. So, and by the way, guys, this is a sealed copy of Meatloaf, right? How many copies of this were pressed? So, I don't, uh, I don't know which copy of this. I don't know which pressing it is, but it's sealed. Why do I keep it sealed? It's a beautiful cover, Richard Corbin cover. However, the big thing is I already have like 6 open copies of it. They all sound good, right? I'm not keeping any low-grade copies of Bat Out of Hell. It's such a popular album. So at that point, I'm keeping it just for the novelty of it. But I have many open copies of Bat Out of Hell. In fact, I have a promo copy of Bat Out of Hell, which sounds great. And now I'm going to also share with the viewers, if you're a vinyl guy, indulge me because I'm kind of teaching to comic people. But you know how people want first printings of comic books, people typically like early pressings of records because the stamper is pressing the vinyl and it's pressing the grooves in which the stylus goes into those grooves and pulls out the music. Well, just imagine this metal stamper is pressing, and after hundreds of thousands of pressings, the metal does start wearing out a little bit. And because of that, the fidelity in the pressed vinyl is sacrificed. So the earlier the pressing, in theory, the better the sound of the record. And typically, the promo copies were the first stamped out and then sent to radio stations and DJs and record stores so they can start generating excitement. So it's not like they were trying to get the highest fidelity stuff out there. It's just, it was natural. They were pressing it, sending them out, giving them away, and then the subsequent pressings were wrapped up and sent to record stores to be sold. So I think that makes sense, right? But I have one of the promo copies of Bat Out of Hell, white label, and they actually made them in white labels. If you look at the records, a lot of them like this, they have colored labels. If this was a promo, there's a good chance it would have been white. If it was white, it might even say promotion copy, not for sale. Another record, so impactful. I think I was in 6th grade. I think I was in 6th grade. I remember every morning before going to school, I listened to Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, and Billy Joel, The Stranger. The Stranger, for me, really introduced me to the Piano Man. Though I heard the song Piano Man on the radio beforehand, it really wasn't until The Stranger came out that I bought a record, and I was obsessed with it. Side A, Side B. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, Side A, Side B. I probably then eventually focused in on Side A of Bat Out of Hell and Side A of The Stranger. And I gotta believe, Side A finishes with scenes from an Italian restaurant. Do you guys love that song? Obviously, it's so popular, but I still, to this day, I'm an old man now, and I still sing that song. It's great. I still whistle to The Stranger. It's just great stuff, but how impactful. There was actually a record during this time that I actually bought purely based on the cover artwork. So I was always visual, right? I was always a visually focused guy. Loved comic books. By this time, I wasn't collecting comics anymore. But look at this. Nectar Recycled. They're another prog band out of Europe. Matter of fact, I think the lead singer or the leader of the band passed away, but he was in Jersey. So he was a Jersey boy, ultimately. That's where I think he lived. And Nectar Recycled. Look at that cover. So I saw this, me and my buddies, we went to Harmony Hut in the Wayne Mall, the Wayne Willowbrook Shopping Mall, and I saw this, and we looked at it every time, and then, again, as kids, generally I was a poor kid anyway, right? My family didn't have a lot of money, but I saw this record, I took a chance, and said, I'm going to buy this record purely because of the cover. If you guys haven't heard Nectar, you should listen to them. All the records are great, but Nectar Recycled happens to be my favorite. I remember Ernie and I used to play foosball, and we used to listen to side A constantly. We didn't even flip over to side B. It was side A that it was all about. So Nectar Recycled, what a great record. And kind of a great surprise for me because I took a chance and decided to buy a record based on purely the cover art. Another highly impactful record for me, which I think, again, Queen is one of my all-time favorite bands, is A Night at the Opera. I think, I remember on Saturdays, Claudio and I used to like repair our bikes, just work on bikes, right? We were kids dismantling and putting together our bikes. And I remember singing Bohemian Rhapsody, and he was laughing his butt off. It was just, one, I have a terrible voice. Two, I probably have no tempo, but hey, Freddie, the dude made me sing, and we were riding our bike, and I was singing Bohemian Rhapsody. It was just a great artistic song. Queen, A Night of the Opera. Boy, did this impact me. I know this is out of all these records, probably one of the oldest, but I didn't get it until in the late 70s, and then I realized what a classic record this was. And guys, is this a great... the records I'm showing you, obviously, I have thousands of records. These are... just because I'm putting this on video for you guys, I wanted to pull out some of the nicer copies. It may not be the nicest copy I have, but it's one of the older pressings. It's not one of the reissues. My last record... another one, I have to mention Claudio. He and I were repairing bikes a lot together. Again, this was like in the 78, 79 probably. He still collects comics. He still collected comics at that time while I quit. But this record, I love. And this happens to be a promo copy too. And I'm going to explain the relevance. So I love the Cars. Do you guys like the Cars? Man. All of those guys. Benjamin Orr, what a voice. Good bassist. Rick Ocasek, wow, what a great songwriter. But we were playing this. By this time, I had the record, but I recorded it onto a cassette. And in the garage, we're playing with our bikes, repairing our bikes, and I was playing the cassette over and over to the Cars. It resonated with me. At that point, again, we were way too young to have a car. We're futzing around with our bikes early on Saturday mornings. But this is the album. This was the tape that I made from the album that just hours and hours on a Saturday. Now, one thing I think is relevant, and again, that's why I'm closing out the video on this is a promo copy, as you can see. What I think is great about this promo copy, if I took the record out, has a white label. You know, there are some songs that run onto each other, right? It's Bye Bye Love, Moving in Stereo. So if you're into the Cars, you know these songs go right into it, all mixed up. They all run into each other, right? They combined it in the studio. But what did I say about promotion copies? They were sent to radio stations and DJs so they could play them on a radio. And what they did with this particular record is those songs, even though they were all joined together, they separated them. So on this promo copy, there is a gap between songs. They fade them in, they fade them out. They fade them in, right? If you have, I bet you, if you listen to it on your copy right now, if it's not a promo copy, they're going to run right into each other, right? I could hear it in my mind. They just go right into each other. On this particular copy, they separate it with a couple of second gap for the radio station's convenience. So I love the Cars. To this day, they're still one of my favorites, and every one of their albums I love. Or every one of the albums that I just shared with you, I clearly love for different reasons. But the Cars, yeah, they made such a big difference. So everybody, I thank you. If you're a comic person, I hope you see the commonalities and the parallels between records and comic books. And hey, who knows? Maybe next time you hear Buying Out of My Garage, we'll talk records too. A couple of you guys, like Josh, I know you like records. So a handful of you I know are into the records as well. But if you're a record guy, I hope you hit subscribe. If you're a comic guy, I'm glad you stuck with me, and I hope you continue to watch my record videos because they're awesome. So everybody, I really do want to thank you so much for your time today. I hope you hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Sí, ya está grande ahí. Ya lo hicieron, mira. Ajá.